So the drivers make their way out onto the circuit for race 1 out of 2. Minimax, and here is the grid. So Simon Meyer, who should be showing on the timing screens, has not come out of the pre-grid, so I'm wondering if that's going to be a bit of a development for race 1. Mika Trapp, our points leader coming into this round, will line up on the outside of the front row. Alexander Klugel in the 180, Nein Bretag in the 191. Matthias Schulte, who was at the sharper end of the grid after qualifying yesterday, starts P5 and will have alongside the 150. It will be the 121 of David Girouche. Devin Leon Ukar in the 153 and Bennett Meyer in the 106 completes the top 4 rows, and completing the top 10, which actually rounds out the grid, Kenyon Washington in the 114 and the 105 of Kevin Schneider. Simon Meyer is actually out on the circuit, so the transponder has broken the timing beam. Oh, and a bit of a spin there. That was for Mika Trapp, not what you want on the formation lap. Good thing is, the 118 was able to gather it back together and get back out onto the circuit. So again, 9 minutes plus an additional lap. Simon Meyer and Mika Trapp will control the pace. We had 2 different winners yesterday. Mika Trapp in the first heat, Simon Meyer fending off Mika Trapp for the victory in heat 2. But based on countback, Simon Meyer would be the one at the front of the field. Now, the strange thing is, Simon Meyer actually joined the party late and could be starting from the back of the grid as a result of that, unless Simon Meyer actually catches up, which could very much be the case because the other 9 drivers are there. So it looks like Simon Meyer's got some work to do. Simon Meyer has got some work to do, I think. So 9 minutes plus an additional lap. There is a little bit of a dry line starting to show on the circuit here at Kerpen. There is Simon Meyer, and has was not in. So revs rise, into the tram lines we go. Have we been given the green light to go racing? Looks like the timer has started. So Mika Trapp, as a result of Simon Meyer's unfortunate late entrance onto the grid, has given him pole position, and already there's a bit of bumping and boring as someone's gone off track and started going rally crossing. Simon Meyer might have already made a couple of places up, and we've not even gotten 30 seconds into the race. You can see that there is a definitive dry line starting to show as the Mojo wet weather tyres have started pushing aside the dampness on the circuit. There is Mika Trapp leading the way. Alexander Klugel in second. Nein Bretag in third place. So we're about to complete lap number 1. As drivers are scrabbling for traction coming out of the final corner. So Kenyon Washington has already jumped his way up the order, up to 4th place. It could be 3rd very shortly. Oh, nearly loses the back end going through turn 2, and that allows Nein Bretag to get through. Devin Leon Ukar right on the back bumper of the 114. Matthias Schulte also trying to factor in at the same time. But through on this particular moment, it's not going to be the case. Mika Trapp leads from Alexander Klugel. There's at Nein Bretag, as Kenyon Washington and Devin Leon Ukar are battling away over what is 4th on the road, and Devin Leon Ukar just literally lights up the rear tyres, and they bite onto the tarmac and propel the 153 forward ahead of the 114. So just under 2 minutes of this race completed. We've still got 7 to go plus 1 additional lap. So Mika Trapp is leading the way. Alexander Klugel was 1.19 seconds behind, but Klugel has just gone quickest of anybody. 1 minute 1.191 seconds, and has got the gap down to less than a second. Naim Bretag in third. Devin Leon Ukar, Kenyon Washington rounds out the top 5. David Jirush rounds out the top 7 behind Matthias Schulte. Simon Mayer now up into 8th position and is starting to wind up the wick and is running in the 1 minute 3.2s at the moment. However, if the pace starts to increase from the 1:45, who was due to start from pole position, it could have been a very different story altogether if he started on the front, because he could have pulled away. But Mika Trapp is still leading. So a third of the race is now completed. 6 minutes plus an additional lap still to go. Mika Trapp continues to lead, as he has done since the lights went out and we went racing here in race 1 for Minimax. So through into turn 2. They're trying to use the outside line just to cool the tyres a little bit, because now that there's a definitive dry line starting to show on the circuit, it's going to start overheating those tyres. And especially with the way that the track is starting to evolve rather quickly, now that we've had morning warm-up, we're now at full racing speed. But a lot of the track itself and the sunshine starting to peer through the clouds, when it's actually more than peering through, it's breaking through the clouds and bringing some well-needed sunshine and warmth onto the circuit. So that's going to help the track to evolve. So the drivers are all in wetsuits at the moment. There still will be some spray kicked out behind from the rear axles, as Naim Bretag has got Devin Leon Ukar closing in, and that is the battle for third position on the road through the final corner. There's Kenyon Washington out of shot. And so these two are separated by just over 2.5 tenths of a second. Washington is about a couple of seconds away from this battle. One of the other things that could be sometimes it can be more of a hindrance than a help. There'll be a hindrance to one and a help to another, because the minute you get the glare as the sunshine bounces off wet tarmac, it can be rather disconcerting regarding your peripheral vision. And Devin Leon Ukar trying to put the power down. The back end on that kart is looking rather loose, as you probably hear in, like, say, maybe an IndyCar or a NASCAR term, where you put the power down, the back end starts like stepping out a little bit, and that's what we saw from Devin Leon Ukar, but who still, despite that, is keeping pace with Naim Bretag. And we're into the sub-60s, as Mika Trapp now puts in a 59.862 second lap time and is 1.172 seconds ahead of Alexander Klugel in the 180. Battle for third place still wages on. But keep your eyes on Kenyon Washington, who is getting quicker. Washington is now 1.7 seconds behind the battle for P3, who could have nearly swapped positions right there. Has the change happened? Don't think it has quite yet. But not for the want of trying. So a third of the race left to go. 3 minutes plus an additional lap still remaining here in Minimax Race 1 on Sunday. Mika Trapp leads. Alexander Klugel in second. Naim Bretag in third. Devin Leon Ukar, Kenyon Washington, Simon Mayer, David Jirush rounding out the top 7. Bennett Meyer, Kevin Schneider and Matthias Schulte rounds out the top 10. No, that's now changed, because Matthias Schulte has got past Kevin Schneider. Not too sure if Schneider has had a little bit of an off-track excursion, but is yet to cross the line. I would imagine that Schneider might have called it time, or maybe the kart has called time on this race for the 1:05. So 2 minutes to go. About to complete lap number 7. And you can see now the dry line is really starting to show itself here at the circuit. And this will be further exacerbated when we have 24 junior Rotax drivers up next on this circuit. So 1 minute and 35 seconds remain. Mika Trapp still leads, but by just under 0.6 of a second from Alexander Klugel. Kevin Schneider looks to be retiring from the race, I'm afraid. 105 running on the Energy chassis as an independent entry. Now, Alexander Klugel needs to do something rather quickly, because in the next 2 to 3 laps, you can, if you can, there's that dry line really starting to show here. The drivers are really having to keep an eye on the tyres, because they'll feel it through the seat of their pants how the kart is actually handling. A term used by ex-Formula 1 driver on multiple occasions when he was running with Williams and Red Bull and McLaren, David Coulthard. And that's how these drivers understand how the kart is handling. What's going to be the feedback to the mechanic when they get back to the awning, as there has been a spinner, and that looks to be Kenyon Washington, I believe, judging by the brightly coloured race helmet there. And Washington's been off again. That is twice in rapid succession. So I think Kenyon Washington has really had a bit of a mare, as we would say. Now the timer is about to hit 0. And this time, the final lap board comes out. Mika Trapp goes on to the 10th and final lap of this race, leading Alexander Klugel by just over 0.36 of a second. And Washington has started to drop down the order multiple places. So has dropped out of what was 5th position and has dropped to the bottom end of the field. Kevin Schneider did retire on lap 5. Alexander Klugel is trying to deliver that killer blow on the final lap of the race to take the lead and also the race victory. But Mika Trapp looks over the right shoulder, sees where Klugel is in terms of proximity, and knows that he has to go defensive. Klugel could mount an attack coming out of the final corner, but they go through the chicane, through the left-hander. Alexander Klugel, could it be a run to the line? It's not going to be on this particular occasion, because Mika Trapp wins race 1 here on Sunday by 0.345 seconds. Naim Bretag takes P3. Devin Leon Ukar rounds out the top 4. Simon Mayer, who was due to start on pole position, incredible fight back from the back end of the grid to finish in 5th place, ahead of the 121 of David Girouche. Matthias Schulze in 7th. Bennett Meyer rounds out the top 8. Kevin Schneider we did have retire on lap number 5, but Kenyon Washington, who had 2 respective off-track excursions, I'm sure that I'll probably get an Instagram message from him at some point as to what was the problem, but Kenyon Washington would be classified 9th. But Mika Trapp goes into this afternoon with all the confidence in the world as he wins race 1 on Sunday in Minimax.